So let's go ahead and start chopping our vegetables. So we have got our beautiful, wonderful cucumber here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut long strips. When you cut, this is the most important thing. You have to have a claw. So when you bring the knife next to your claw, you won't cut yourself. People cut themselves because and I didn't cut myself here. I actually slammed my finger in a door and it's really ugly. So sorry about that. But if you protect your fingers by bending them, you're not going to cut them. Where people make the mistake is they'll hold something like this with their fingers exposed and get very close to it. So if you hold your hand in a claw, this is going to be much, much safer. And no matter how you cut things, you should always have that claw where the knife edge is parallel with your fingers. Never this way or this way. It's always this way. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this into strips. Okay. I'm going to cut the first one. I know this looks really fast, but we're going to take our time. So we're going to cut them into strips like that. Okay. So everybody work on that. Go ahead and cut both into strips. I have an ugly part on mine, so I'm going to take it off.
While you're cutting that up, we have someone with an allergy to cucumber. What might you use in this recipe instead of cucumber?
More tomatoes or, a red pepper. Oh, that would be great in here. Any kind of pepper would be great in here. What else? Ooh, a jicama would be a really nice, if you haven't had jicama, that would be great because it gives you that crunch like the cucumber does and that freshness. If you haven't had a jicama before, check it out. They're really delicious. They're kind of hard to cut because they're big and crazy, but come to Knife Skills. We got to get together, people. It's going to be good. It's a very delicious vegetable. I also have an episode on that, Gardens and Grub. I do this half-hour talk every week on Wednesdays from 1 to 1:30. Krista is my awesome technology person for that. And I think I've done like 35 episodes or something. It was a way to still do something culinary wise during the pandemic, where we could do kind of a deep dive on ingredients. I mean, we've talked about like jicama, chayote, tamarind, chocolate, vanilla, like we've done so many now that I have to text Krista and go, have I done beans yet? Or, and figure out where we're at. And we're coming into the summer. So we're going to do cucumbers, tomatoes, stuff when it comes ripe. I will pull it out of the garden and then do a talk on it. So look for those, and you can learn all about jicama on Gardens and Grub, and I show you how to cut it too. Okay, so now we've got our little strips, and if you're new to this, you're not going to do that many strips at a time. You're only going to do like maybe 3 or 4 strips at a time. Okay, so we've got our little strips. Okay, and we're going to have our little claw. And our claw is going to come together here. And you can actually use your knife to stack them so they're nice and even, okay? And then with our little claw, we're going to go ahead and cut the opposite way into little cubes. Now, for those of you that are new to cutting, don't pick up stuff like this because you're pulling your knife towards your hand. Once you've done it for a while, and it's a year or 2 down the road, you can do that. I would invest 57 cents in a bench scraper. These are real cheap. You can get them in a restaurant supply house. You can spend $5 on a metal one at Walmart or Target. And it's round on one side to scrape the inside of a bowl, and it's flat on the other side to scrape a surface. And that way you can pick things up safely and not cut yourself. But once you know what you're doing and you're comfortable, you can use the edge of your knife to pick things up. It's up to you. Just when you're new at it, like in Knife Skills class, I won't let you do it, but you'll have one of these at your station. Okay, so. Yeah, I've heard of some people being allergic to cucumbers and melons, like it causes their mouth to kind of break out or swell. And a lot of times that has to do with like the latex type stuff that's in the peel. So I'm craving cucumbers because I eat seasonally because I grow a lot of my own food. And like I will rarely buy a cucumber ever because when you eat them in the summer, right now I'm craving them, cucumbers and tomatoes. I can't wait. And I'll start to eat them. And then a month into it, I'm so sick of cucumbers, I don't want to look at another one again. And tomatoes, it takes a little bit longer for me to get sick of them. But then at the end of the summer, I'm craving kale. And then all winter long and spring, I eat kale and spinach. And now I have like a crazy chunk of spinach in my garden and I don't even want to look at it anymore. I'm just feeding it to the chickens because I'm like, ugh, spinach, ugh. But then you crave it, it's weird. Okay. Okay, my timer went off. So let's look at the quinoa real quick. This is after I've let it sit for 5 minutes. You can let it sit for 20 minutes, it's fine. But since we're trying to cool it down, I'm gonna go ahead and remove the lid. Always be careful because there's always a little steam that comes. That smells really good. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my handy dandy little spoon and I'm gonna fluff the quinoa, okay? And I'm gonna cool it down, okay? Because it's real hot. So we're just gonna leave that. I mean, it looks perfect. Look how nice and fluffy that is. If you move this out of the way and there's water at the bottom of your pan, it's not done cooking yet. It just means you just need to cook it a little bit longer and it'll be fine. But this is perfect and fluffy and beautiful. So in order to cool this down faster, I'm gonna go ahead and put it like in another bowl because it's gonna take a long time to cool down in here, which is fine if we weren't in a hurry, but we're trying to get this done and eat tonight. So, okay.
Cheralyn, while you're searching for that bowl, we have a question about large versus small cucumbers. Would there be a difference in the taste of this recipe if you used a large versus a small cucumber?
If it's the really small ones, not the pickling ones have a thick skin, but if you get Persian cucumbers, they're a little pricey, but the skin is super thin. I would not peel those. I also wouldn't take the seeds out because there's so few seeds. Persian cucumbers are just like straight eights, like they're like a commercial variety of cucumber, but they're picked when they're little tiny babies. And I recommend doing that. If you grow cucumbers in your backyard, pick them when they're wee. Don't wait till they get huge because you're gonna have so many, you're gonna be sick of them. You might as well eat them when they're like the absolute best. When none of the seeds have really developed in there, the skin is just the thinnest it's ever been. And you can I just pick them and eat them in the yard, but then, you know, you can chop them up and put them in here and there's a lot less work you have to do because it's not a mature fruit. Baby vegetables taste great. So, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and transfer this into a bowl.
I'm not sure how I feel about that statement, Cheralyn. The vegetarian in me felt a little upset.
It's not veal. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and just fluff this and set it to the side to cool. I'll pop it in the fridge for fun, just to get a little chili on it. Okay. So now, okay, so I've got my cucumber in here. Let's move on to our tomato for fun. Tomatoes, Roma tomatoes. They are sort of like a Southern Italian variety. This is technically a sauce tomato. It's not a slicing tomato, but it's great in salads and things because there's not too much juice inside. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut the tops off and turn them upside down like so. And if you want, you can trim the bottom off, but it's such a small, this is the blossom end. This is the stem end and the little blossom end. So we're gonna trim that off just for fun. Now you can see my knife is sharp because it cuts through a tomato skin. You can always tell if your knife isn't sharp if you can't cut through a tomato skin. So you can, if you're having difficulty with your chef knife, use a serrated steak knife and it's a lot easier. Just be very careful though, because the smaller the blade, the less that you can protect your hand from it. So make sure you give yourself a little distance when you're cutting. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and cut little planks out of these. Remember, we've got our little claw, okay? You're not holding the tomato like this because you'll expose your fingers. You're gonna hold it up here. And we're gonna cut like 3 little guys like this, okay? And I'm gonna do the same with the other one. And then I'm gonna demonstrate how to cut this and then I'll talk a little bit so y'all can catch up. Okay, if you're cutting through, you see how that's all skin? I'm gonna put the skin side down. It's easier to cut this way. And I'm just gonna cut like 4 slices or so. See that? I've got these all lined up. I can just take them and turn them this way, okay? Stack them with my knife and using my little claw, I'm gonna cut them into a little dice, okay? All right, I'm gonna keep going here. So let me show you this real quick while y'all are chopping. This is a sauce tomato. It has a lot of flesh on the inside. A slicing tomato, like a beef steak or something, has a lot of juice in it, and that's perfect for like tomato sandwiches and things. But the reason they call these sauce tomatoes is because when there's so much body to them that when you cook them, there's not a lot of water that you have to cook off of them. But you can eat these raw too. These are beautiful no matter what. There's only like three or four different kinds of tomatoes you can get in the average grocery store. So I highly recommend, if you can, during the summertime, find yourself some heirloom tomatoes. You don't have to grow them yourself. People want to start with tomatoes in vegetable gardening, and they're the hardest one to grow. So if you are inspired by tomatoes, they are America's favorite garden vegetable, and you're inspired to grow tomatoes, come see me and we'll talk about it. Or I can just give you a basket of tomatoes and then your heart won't be broken. And we can start you off in the fall growing broccoli and cauliflower and kale, which is way easier. I got to plug this really quick. While you're chopping, everyone, mark your calendars for September 11th. We're having a fall fest at Briggs, and it's all about winter gardening. We'll have a little plant sale. We'll have all these educational demos. It's outdoors. Bring the kids. Come hang out. It's free. And we'll have all kinds of demos. People think that you have to get your garden in March, April, and be done with it in November, but you really don't. You put another garden in September, and you overwinter it. You can eat all winter long out of your garden in the central part of North Carolina. You just have to do a couple of things and plant the right things at the right time. And so we'll have all that information for you there. Plus we'll have all the plants that you would want to put in the ground and seeds to give away. Plants we'll be selling, but we'll be giving away some seeds and calendars and things like that. So you're welcome to come on down and just learn about gardening. But tomatoes are what people want to start with. And the way I describe tomatoes is that they're like they're narcissists. They're like, I talk about it like a high school, like these are the snobby pretty girls that like have to have everything their way. They don't usually get along well with others. They, give up the ghost or whatever. They just give up on things when things get tough. When the tough gets, they do not get going when things get tough. Whereas your friend broccoli and collard greens and cauliflower, and especially things like kale, the brassicas, are like the guy in school or the gal in school that gets along with all the groups, like just knows everyone and, hey man, what's up? Just a generally agreeable. Brassicas are where it's at. So come see me at Fall Fest. Okay, let's chop up the rest of this thing and get on with our lives. Okay, let me just blaze through this, and then we're gonna move on to our little bag. So for those of you that are done chopping, go ahead and grab your bag of herbs and go ahead and open it up. So I'm watching our time. Let's see here. Okay, we're doing good. All right.
And we have tomato questions. Could we use tomato tomatoes or cherry or smaller tomatoes?
Any tomatoes for this, any tomatoes. In fact, cherry tomatoes are really flavorful that you can, one of those, like you can get those like little sweeties and things. The more flavorful the tomato, the better the salad will be. If you can, get some tomatoes in the summer that are like fresh from someone's backyard, it's a beautiful thing in a salad like this. Okay, so let's open up our herbs. Okay, so I want to show you how we've packaged these for you, okay? I'm not gonna, you can go ahead and tear this bag if you want to, but I just want to show you how we've packaged them. And so people will bring home herbs and they'll just shove them in a bag at the store and throw them in, and then they're like, oh man, my parsley died. Well, yeah, because it's alive. So you want to keep it alive longer. Food is very expensive on the East Coast. I'm from the Southwest where all those international produce ports are, and I'm right next to California and Mexico where all of our produce is grown most of the time. And you can get tons of vegetables for like nothing. Out here, when I tell my friends that one bunch of parsley is $1.59 and it's not even organic, they're like, or that a lemon is $1 or $2 for $1 on sale. You don't even pay for lemons in the Southwest. They just fall off of trees all over the place. So food is very expensive and you want it to last as long as possible. So the way that you can do that is bring these home and trim them immediately. Take the end off. You can treat these like flowers and just put them in water in your fridge, or like up to a week in water in your fridge, or you can even leave them out for a couple of days and just change the water every day. But a great way to do it, if you want them to last for like a week or two, come home, trim the ends, throw them in a paper towel like so. Wet this paper towel, this one's wet. And then for added benefit and long lastingness, hold on. Get yourself a dry paper towel and wrap the top of your herbs in the dry paper towel like so. And then put them in the bag and leave a little air and tie it, not real tight because they're still breathing because they're alive. Now you've got like little flowers that are drinking from this wet area, and then when they drink and they kind of, then when they transpire and they let out moisture, there's something there to absorb it so they don't rot when they touch the bag. And this will stay good for like 2 weeks or more in your refrigerator. So we bagged these like 5 days ago, which is why we did this. So they'd still be fresh and delicious when you got them. But that was the day that I had the most volunteers because, you know, wanted it to be perfect. Okay, so here you go. What we have is parsley. This is all washed for you already. Mint, spearmint, people. Check this out. That is spearmint. That is not peppermint. Come see me at Briggs. I'll show you what peppermint looks like. That's spearmint. So also called yerba buena. Delicious. Okay, and green onions or scallions, depending on where you're from. Same thing. Okay, so we're gonna cut these first. Take your rubber band off. These are latex, so they are compostable. Okay, and we are going to take these guys and we're gonna cut the whole thing. So again, I'm using my little claw and I'm gonna hold these together. I'm gonna trim off the tops or any ones that look ugly and throw that part away, okay? Now I'm gonna cut my onions, just go slow and cut them evenly and small. Because remember, you don't want to bite into a big old piece of onion. You want the onion to spread across the dish so that every bite has a little bit of onion in it instead of big chunks of onion. So go ahead and cut these. I'll show you a fun trick if you have a garden. These are very easy to grow in North Carolina. In fact, I have not bought green onions for myself in 6 years because when I got in my house, somebody gave me a handful of these tiny onion bulbs and I stuck them in the ground and they keep multiplying. And now I just have perpetual onions. If you put these in the ground, they will grow. So cut them down short like this and put them in the spring and they'll sprout more onions if you keep them wet. So just keep that in mind. It's kind of fun. You can also put these in a glass of water and they will also grow, but there's only so much they can do in a glass of water. They can do a lot more for you if you stick them in the garden bed outside. So, okay, so now let's put our onions in the bowl. Okay, now next, we have our parsley. This is flat leaf parsley, Italian parsley. If you only have the curly leaf parsley, that's absolutely fine to use in this salad. So go ahead and take your rubber band off. And then what we're gonna do is you can chop these up and put them in the salad, but they're kind of chewy. So I'm gonna cut these off. I don't really need those because there's so much parsley in here. You can include these, but you gotta cut them real small. Otherwise you're gonna like, there's a mouthfeel thing. I'm gonna take these, get rid of them, okay? Now, to kind of speed things along, we're also gonna chop our mint with our parsley. And let me show you how to do that. We're gonna take off the rubber band, okay? We don't eat the stem of mint. It's not good. It doesn't taste great. You know, the stems of parsley can be used, but the stems of mint can't. So what you're gonna do is take each one and you're gonna hold on to the top sprig and you're gonna peel back the mint and put it in here. Okay, and then just break off the top and put it right on top. So let's go ahead and do that with all of our mint. If you don't like mint, leave it out. Another great thing to add in here is like dill, without the mint, of course. You can substitute dill, you can substitute some cilantro if you want, but mint is traditional Mediterranean tabbouleh. So go ahead and just take all these out. If you got an ugly mint leaf, just throw it away. If you end up with a bunch of mint, say you don't really want to eat mint in the salad, you can actually take these and hang them upside down to dry. And once they're dry, crush them up and put them in a mason jar and store them in the dark. And they'll be good for like months. You can make tea out of them or whatever you like. So let me do this. All right. Okay, so I've got my mint leaves and my parsley leaves. This requires you to really pay attention to what you're doing because you don't want to cut the tips of your fingers off. So what you're going to do is you're going to curl these up together like a little sachet, a little packet. Okay, don't worry about pressing them too hard because you're about to cut them into a million little bits. So I've got my little package here. See that? Okay, I'm going to be very mindful of where I put my claw and keep my fingers away. Okay, the thinner cuts that you make, the less you're going to have to go back and forth over it. Okay, so make sure when you make a cut, the next cut should be a real small cut right next to it. So just go ahead and go all the way through, and you're making these little chiffonade, which means ribbon. Okay. All right, and now you've got this beautiful pile of ribbons, okay? If you don't cut this finer, the mouthfeel is not gonna be good. The eating experience is not gonna be that great. So the smaller these are, the more delicious your salad will be. You don't wanna be eating and then like cough on a piece of parsley that's stuck in the back of your throat. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna curl them back up again, like we did before, in a little packet, and do it again.
Cheralyn, could they use cilantro for the parsley?
Absolutely, you could. It's just cilantro is not in season right now. Yep, cilantro will be more expensive now. That's another thing that grows all winter long. If you put cilantro seeds in September, you will have cilantro until May. And it grows along the ground. When it's freezing cold, it can freeze solid and warm back up in the daytime and be fine. It's almost like it has its own antifreeze. It's really great. So again, Fall Fest, come see me. Okay, so we're gonna keep chopping. And then now that I've got this a little bit smaller, what I'm gonna do is make a little stack of it, and I'm gonna hold the tip of my knife, and I'm gonna use that as like a little fulcrum, or how do you say, like a little paddle or oar on a boat. And I'm gonna chop, 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 and just keep bringing everything back together and chop, 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 chop. Because the finer this is, the better it's going to taste. And don't worry, if this takes you a little while, just keep going when we move on to the next thing, because we're going to talk about lemon squeezers for a second. You'll have time, don't worry. Smells so good. Okay, so see how I put my knife down? Bam, knife away from, edge away from you. Okay, so now we're gonna take our delicious herbs and we're gonna put them into the salad. If you go to like Lebanon or you go to like anywhere in the Middle East or in the Mediterranean and you order a salad like this, because it's called lots of things in different languages, it's a parsley salad with a little bit of wheat in it. Here, when you order it in America, a lot of times a bunch of wheat with a little bit of parsley in it. So, because we like our carbs here in the US. But this recipe is about half and half vegetables, half quinoa. So this is our beautiful things that are all now cut up. So for those of you chopping parsley, keep going. We're going to talk about squeezing lemons, okay? So lemons. All right, we're going to squeeze our citrus, but the way that you cut citrus to squeeze it is you've got a stem end and a blossom end. You've got two ends, and you're going to cut right down the middle of those two ends, okay? Let me just show you. In order to get the most juice out of a lemon, you're going to roll it on the countertop. Let me clean this off a little bit. It's a mess. Okay. So you're gonna roll it on the countertop because that breaks the pulp up on the inside and makes it soft, so the juice comes out easier. So I'm gonna do both of them. Okay, and remember, when you're gonna juice a lemon, there's the top and the bottom, and you're gonna cut right down the middle of it, and I'll show you. Okay, all right. Now what I'm looking at is this beautiful pinwheel. This is how you juice a lemon. Look, there's already juice coming out of it. Some people will mistakenly cut through the meridian like this. That is not a lemon that you want to juice, that you haven't exposed all of the pulp. So if you do it this way, that's okay. Just cut it this way and we can work with that. Okay. So I have a juicer and you don't have to have one of these. Okay. But I wanted to show you, if you do have one of these and you're taking your citrus and you're putting it in like that, you're doing it wrong. It needs to go in like this. Okay. Because this will actually force more juice out of it if you put but people often will just buy these and drop them in like that. You're not going to get very much juice out of it if you juice it like that. Okay, so these are nice because you can juice with them. And then what I do is I put another one in there. And then to get the most out of it, I put the other original one back in there because these are kind of small lemons and you get a lot more juice out of them if you fill it up a little bit fuller. Okay, if you don't have one of these, let me show you what else to do. Roll, roll, roll. Okay, so we've got our beautiful little pinwheel. Now, I'm not going to turn it this way and juice it because I'm going to shoot the seeds out into my delicious salad, and then they're going to be real hard to find. So what you do is you hold it in your hand like this with the juice towards your hand, and then when you squeeze it, all the seeds stay in your hand. Okay, so we're going to do that. And then, ooh, delicious and juicy. Okay, all right. And then we're going to dry off. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're getting close to the end, everybody. Okay, so we're going to take our extra virgin olive oil. If you're going to eat olive oil, eat extra virgin olive oil. Otherwise, if it's like olive pomace oil or olive oil light, it usually has some other cheap oil in it. I love extra virgin olive oil because it's the first cold press of the olives, and it has the most antioxidants and smells and tastes the best. But it also breaks down quickly. And so I will buy this and keep it in the refrigerator until I'm ready to use it, unless I'm moving through it really quickly. And I keep it in the dark. So it smells great. If you refrigerate